And joining us today in our Book Talk segment, great pleasure to welcome a woman who's written a very interesting book that deals with writing, but also kind of making things better for yourself. It's called Heal Yourself with Writing. We're joined today by an actress and a writer, a very talented woman, Katherine Ann Jones, from out in Southern California today. And Katherine, good to talk to you. How are you?
I'm fine. Well, I'm writing books now. It's a departure. Of course, in New York, I wrote plays. I had 10 produced. And then in Hollywood, I wrote feature films, television films, and I wrote for the show Touched by an Angel.
Right, I want to talk to you about that. I didn't really get to see that show when it was on originally, but I've been watching the DVDs of it. That was a great show. It is a great show.
Yeah, it ran 9 years.
Yeah. Yeah, you wrote many episodes on that. What was that experience like?
It was good. It made people feel good, and I like that. I think we have enough movies and televisions that make you feel the opposite, so it was good.
It really did touch people in a different way. I mean, obviously it's entertainment, but it also, like you said, it told stories about people and gave you hope. I think
it saved one man's life. He had decided to kill himself and happened to have the television on. And he had never seen the show before, and he happened to have it on CBS. And by the end of the hour, he was sobbing and wrote to us saying he decided to give life another chance after watching.
I didn't know that story. Yeah, that's great. Yeah.
No, not many do. So yeah, it was a good feeling to write for something like this. Actually, that desire to, what we called in my generations make a difference, I guess, led me to write the current book, Heal Yourself with Writing.
Well, it kind of ties in because that show, in a sense, was healing to many people beyond just being an entertaining show, and that's what you talk about in the book, how writing about different things that happen in your life can actually heal you, can it?
Yes. Could I give you a couple of sentences to kind of lead into what it's about?
Sure.
I took a break from Hollywood, and I got a graduate degree in depth psychology and primarily Jungian psychology. And I also had a Fulbright year as a research scholar in India studying shamanism. So all of these different things led into the current book. Creative people don't travel in straight lines. We do different things, then kind of try and pull it together into something new. So here's the kind of, by the way, we got a very nice review from Psychology Today that said, Heal Yourself with Writing is an elixir for the soul. So here's an idea, just to give you 2 sentences about what the book is. Our lives may be determined less by past events than by the way we remember them. If we learn how to reframe the pieces of our past and rewrite our life story so that our pain becomes meaningful, we can radically boost our chances of healing, empowerment, growth, and transformation through sharing and a shift in perspective. Focused journaling is an extremely powerful way to achieve that aim. So it's, I just feel there's a great need for people to tell their stories today. And in this way, we can make meaning out of memory and put the past where it belongs behind us and heal one individual, one tribe at a time. So, as you see, it's an ambitious project.
Yeah, no, I had an opportunity to read through it, and I think we're seeing more people now with, blogging or, taking videos and telling stories about themselves. I think people are at least getting back into some sort of storytelling, and that's fine and good.
This approach is a little different.
Yeah, I know this is different, but I mean, it's good to see people do that.
Because it's very specific, focused exercises, 5-minute exercises. I also have an element of memoir. I use examples from my own life to illustrate certain principles I'm trying to teach. It started at the Esalen Institute as a workshop, and I did it at the Omega Institute in New York and in New York City and in London and different places. So it developed from working with people on this, and I was amazed at the response, how people could self-heal themselves. I don't heal anyone. The book and my teachings just a catalyst. But there's more information on my website, wayofstory.com. That was the name of an earlier book I wrote.
Right.
If people want to know more, they're invited to go there.
What did
And
you
I
get?
also
Go ahead.
did it as an online course. And I just found out this week the online course, the link's up on that same website I mentioned, is #2 worldwide now. It's the #2 best-selling
Oh, great.
course. So obviously there's a lot of interest in self-healing out there.
What did you get personally when you did this for yourself? Was there any particular thing you were trying to overcome?
Well, there's a lot of things. The book is really about healing grief and trauma, but it's also about creating a deeper dialogue with the self. If you notice on the title, I separated those two words. Yourself is really one word. When I finished the manuscript, my publisher was waiting for me to send it in. It's sort of like a painter does one more stroke with the brush, and then he knows his painting is finished. I separated the your from self, and so self is capital SELF. So it was distinguishing the kind of ego or self from the higher spiritual self. So, I don't know. To me, that was the final touch, and
Yeah.
it was a spontaneous thing. I never knew I was going to do that. But people have told me now who have started to read the book, they said that makes so much difference because they see that what I'm aiming for. One of the things I do in the book is do exercises for people to cultivate their intuition, or what I call that inner voice. Sometimes your inner voice tells you things, but then your logical mind might override it. And I give an example which I could share of something from my own life, which was your original question. I was living in New York as an actor. I was in my early mid-20s. And I went to visit an actress friend who had just come from Europe. And I walked into her apartment on Central Park South, and as soon as I walked into the apartment, I felt uneasy, and I didn't know why. But I overrode it and said, this is nonsense, she's my friend, and so on. She seated me in a chair by the window overlooking Central Park. As soon as I sat in that chair, I had this feeling, that intuitive feeling saying, you're in danger, you must leave. So after 5 minutes, I got up and I said, I'm sorry, Patricia, I'm not feeling well, I have to go, and I left. 20 minutes later, I walked into my apartment, and the phone was ringing. So I picked up the phone, and it was this friend. She said, Catherine, you'll never guess what happened. Remember that chair you were sitting in my apartment? I said, yes. Well, in New York, they have these huge air conditioning units on top of the buildings that service the whole building.
Sure.
It was old, and it had fallen off the building, crashed into that particular window, and landed on that particular chair.
Wow.
I would have been killed. So since then, I never hesitate. If that inner voice tells me to do whatever, I'm there.
Oh, yeah. I read that story in the book, and that does kind of get your attention. I mean, I think you got to listen to when it's that strong. You got to listen to wherever that comes from. Listen to it.
Yeah, well, I know I do. It may even save your life to listen to that inner voice. So it also deals with that, and like the example I gave examples from my own life. So it's partial memoir and partial. It's designed like people could do it individually or with a group. So, but I've been very encouraged by the responses I've been getting. People after a few days workshop. One woman had been abused sexually at 15, Now she was 34 and very successful in her business life, but had never married and had always felt split off from herself, because trauma does that. It splits you off from your body and mind. At the end of the workshop at Esalen, she wrote to me and she said, for the first time since I was 15, I feel I've returned to myself.
That's great. Yeah.
So, it's really powerful, and I'm not even sure why. Well, I know in a way, but it enables them to step aside and separate themselves from the trauma, the remembered trauma, and in that gap between, that's where the healing takes place.
Yeah.
That's how I explain it.
Something about the actual process of not only just thinking about it, but putting it down on, well, paper or a computer, that is therapeutic. It is amazing when you think about it.
And objectifying it.
Yeah, right.
Not just recalling it as a victim, but anyway, it's very reward. Teaching has its own rewards, but this especially is very rewarding for me. I'm very grateful to do it. I've just been invited to go and teach this workshop in Kuwait.
Really? Oh, great.
Yes, and I asked them, should I do the Way of Story, which is a writing workshop, or Heal Yourself with Writing? And right away they said, we want you to do the healing one.
Great. Well, I know we only barely scratched the surface, Catherine. I want to give the listeners a chance to hear you. And again, the name of the book is called Heal Yourself with Writing. Catherine Ann Jones has been our guest. And I know you gave the website before, but give it out again, Catherine, for people to get hold of you.
Thank you. Wayofstory.com.
And then get the book there.
WAYOFSTORY.com. Thank you very much for listening, too. I appreciate it.
Great, Catherine. Pleasure to talk to you again. Enjoyed your work over the years as a writer, and hopefully we can talk to you again.
I'd love to. Bye.